A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Bawse Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're an entrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey, boss moms, welcome back for another Bawse Mom Movement Podcast. You're here for episode 8. I hope you ladies are having a good week. I know I'm recording this a little bit early, but it is coming up on Valentine's weekend. So hopefully you ladies have a great Valentine's. This would be probably like 2 weeks past Valentine's. So hopefully you all had a good one. I'm going on a couples trip, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely in a much needed space for a good vacation, so I'm excited, but love is in the air. So we are here to talk about being the rich Black mom, and I have a special guest here with me today, Miss Somi, and she is the mom behind the Rich Black Mom brand. So she is a mother of 2 gorgeous kids. I want to say little babies, but they're not. I saw their pictures. So
baby.
Right. And she is here to tell us how we can become the rich Black moms, as well as she's been doing getting her self out of debt and sharing some tips and tricks on that. So I'm super excited to have her here, and I am going to pass her the mic so she can introduce herself.
Hey y'all, thanks for having me. I was like, oh, I got invited to a podcast. I must be doing something right with my life.
Listen.
Yes, I'm Somi, also known as the Rich Black Mom. I'm not there yet, but I'm manifesting that in my life. Just created this brand as a way to debunk the myth. I am a single mom, and there's just like this stereotype and myth about single moms being broke, and just want to debunk that myth and also inspire other moms to be in their bag, get their money, and we all deserve to live a luxurious and wealthy life. So let's get it.
Absolutely. And so I was telling Somi, I actually saw her on my Explore page, specifically around her telling her story through being a single mom and all the debt she's been able to get out of. And that was like what intrigued me. I was like, I need this on the show, because it is so true. Like, single moms, or just moms in general, because a lot of times, back in the day, I feel like moms really didn't work. It wasn't really put out there. And now we're working, whether we're single or we're not single. And we all got debt, I'm sure, to some extent, and so just seeing your transition. So I actually want to start there. Like, let's go back to the beginning, because I'm sure this is what prompted you to even, start your brand. So let's go back to the beginning with the debt and what that looked like for you.
Yes. Man, it's crazy, because I was reflecting over the past couple of months, like especially like the new year coming up, and I was like, dang, I've really come a long way. I grew up in a Nigerian household. I'm Nigerian American. My parents are from Nigeria. And I lived a life where it was all about for show. It was all about fake it till you make it, keeping up with the Joneses, luxury, all of the things. But I didn't understand that my parents actually couldn't afford it. They was putting on a front. So I adopted those same habits when I became an adult and started living a life. I did go to college. I got 2 degrees. So shout out to my educated moms out there. I got 2 degrees. And with those degrees, my parents didn't set me up I didn't have the financial literacy that I needed to be successful. So I accumulated 6 figures in student loan debt, y'all. And that like probably was, but wasn't making 6 figures. The math was not mathing.
Hello. Okay. Say that part again, because they'll tell you that when they say go to school.
Mathing. Okay. Like I didn't understand. But that, didn't stop me. I was like, oh, okay, they're going to give me this free money. So in my mind, free money I didn't have a savings account. Credit was just trash. Might as well not even existed. Living paycheck to paycheck. Payday loans. Don't even get me started on them payday loans. The devil. Overdraft. Just like living a life that I was like, what is this? But, I was like, this is normal. This is what everyone's doing. And I had a lot of friends around me who weren't moms. And so I also believe I was trying to keep up with them because they were living this life. And I was just like, oh, I was a young mom. I was 19, 20, and they were too, but they weren't moms. So I was trying to, live the same life. And the breaking point for me was when my income was increasing, but it didn't seem like I was living a less stressful life than when I made $10 an hour as a broke college student. Like, how did I have 2 degrees? How was I making $65,000 a year? But I'm out here still living like I'm making $10 an hour. The math is not mathing again.
At all.
Well, so it just came to a point where I finally was like, this is enough. And I had to make the sacrifices. I had to do some things that most people, unpopular opinions, embarrassing stuff. Because in that time I was like, every time I got something, when you're a single mom, especially, there's this level of like entitlement, and you feel the need to be like, oh, I deserve, because we go through this struggle. And you do deserve, but you deserve to do it with luxury. You deserve to do it without anxiety. You deserve to do it with peace and not to struggle to have the luxury that you want. So I like to say we deserve luxury at the right time. And I went and I caught me a Benz. I caught me this beautiful ass townhome and all this stuff, but didn't have the money for it. Right. So, but in my mind, I did, because debt was accessible to me.
Right.
And if you're going to prove me for it, I'm going to take it, because I mean, who am I to say no?
To free money.
Exactly. I'll figure out the rest later.
Right.
So I just kind of got tired, and I did some voluntary things. I voluntarily got the Benz repoed, traded it back in. Yet I hit my credit. I gave up the luxury apartments and decided to downsize and get something not as luxury. But when I tell y'all, that was the best financial decision I've ever made in my life. In the moment, I was just like, oh my God, I feel like a failure. This is embarrassing. Like, because at this point, I'm like 28 years old. Like, I should be progressing in life. Why am I going back down? Fast forward 2 years, I have a savings account. Money is being stacked. Last year, I eliminated $30,500 in debt. Credit is booming. Increase my income. Like, life has just made a total transition. And the things that I can afford that Benz now. I can afford the luxury apartment, but I practice the gratification that I don't even desire those things anymore. Like, I'm chasing after more money. I'm chasing after retirement. Like, my focus is somewhere else, because I was like, let me take a moment to stop and pause and get my money together. So,
that is so adultish of you. Because God's still working on me. No, like,
you still working on me too.
But no, seriously, like, I appreciate your transparency and just even sharing your story, because when I was reading it, I'm just like, this is stuff like they don't teach us, in school, when I really feel like, I mean, we need credit classes. Like, we need to know about loans and not just taking them out just to be taking them out to get that refund check, like, and I feel like that's how we end up setting ourselves up for failure in the beginning. And now we've graduated, the math ain't mathing with that salary that I'm getting as a college graduate or with my master's, like, these jobs are requiring me to have this education, but they ain't paying me the money to have this education, Exactly. And so it's like we go to school with the mindset, okay, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to make money. Like, I'm not even thinking about that as a student. I know I wasn't. Like, It was just like a given. I'm like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm coming to get a degree. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to find a job that pays well. And it doesn't matter how much money. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter how much, but it was just like, it wasn't a thought that maybe I should be a little bit more conscious about, taking out extra if I don't really need it, And then, like, with the credit thing, like, not even realizing how important it is to really start building your credit, at least in college. I mean, some people are fortunate enough where their parents have set them up even before college, but you know, in college, getting that student credit card and learning to be responsible with it to start building your credit so that when you graduate, it's not crazy. Because, honey, listen, I got that Wells Fargo card and I was paying it off with those refund checks and they just kept increasing my limit. I'm like, well, who am I to say no? Exactly. Of course, I'm going to accept an extra $3,000 bump, you know, but
if all you want is a payment of $50 a month, okay, no problem.
That's nothing. I may not be able to pay it off at one time without that refund check, but I can give you a little $50, you know?
Exactly.
And that is like how we get so messed up. So one thing you had mentioned about, I'm going to go back and I was like taking mental note, but the show. You mentioned that your parents put on a show of living this luxurious lifestyle that, you know, you saw growing up. That's so interesting that you said that because I kind of feel like that way too. Like, I mean, my mom and dad, like they had their bag or whatever. Like, I'm not going to say like they was broke, but obviously they're not talking financials with me as the child. So I'm just sitting here like, okay, you got a nice car. You got your own house, like this stuff is gonna be easy for me to attain, like, and it wasn't. Like, and I just think that's so crazy. Like, even when we think about like today's time, putting on a show, like social media is like the devil when it comes to that. Because we're sitting here looking at our peers thinking, okay, I'm behind because I'm not driving this luxury car or I don't own my own house. When really you should be knowledgeable before you even jump into any of those things about, you know, the outcomes financially. So like growing up in that, like, what did you feel like? You just feel like, okay, this stuff is just going to come. Like, I'm going to be able to afford this.
Yeah. So there was a big disconnect, especially being Nigerian. There's this big thing about education. Like, right. I just remember in college when my mom would call me, and it'd be 2:00 in the morning. And she'd be like, first of all, Mom, why you call me at 2:00 in the morning? But regardless, she called me at 2:00 in the morning and I'm answering the phone and I'm at Whataburger. I just left the club. And she's like, but why is you not at home studying your books? I'm like, girl, ain't nobody studying their books at 2:00 in the morning, sis. Ain't nobody doing that. So there's this idea that education equals money. So for me, growing up in a household where my parents didn't have, but they made it seem like they had, but also preached education, I was just under the assumption I'm going to get a job. Number one, there's only 5 careers in the African household: doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer. So maybe 4. And so in my mind, like I was told I was going to be a doctor. So, doctors make easily 6 figures. So I'll be fine, right? Get to college. Sis, I don't like blood. How am I going to be a doctor? It don't work.
Right.
I had to like rethink my whole life, you know? So, but still, it was this idea of like, my parents were like, you're going to college, you're going to get a job. So it does this student loans that you're like, just take the money, right? Just take it, just do this, because that's what they did, right? Like if they didn't have it, they would just, my parents would just borrow money from people. That was just a lifestyle. And so even now when I have conversations with my parents and and I talk to them about how much debt I have, they're just like, huh? Like, where did that happen? And I'm like, well, y'all the one that told me to go to college.
Just take the money. Right.
Exactly. You know, and it's just like something that you said that I want to point out is, right, your friends, your family, whatever, you see them driving the Benz, you see them. When I bought my Benz, everyone was like, yes, yeah. Ain't nobody having a conversation like, sis, how you affording that? Like, baby, you was barely able to go to dinner with us last week, but you bought a Benz. Like, no one's holding each other accountable and having those real conversations, and we just celebrating people. And no, I'm not saying
it's the look.
It's not, there's a way to have that conversation with somebody. And I feel like we as women, we as moms, like really need to engage in these conversations and hold each other accountable. Like when you see someone leveling up, like have some real conversations, because if somebody at least would have put a bug in my ear and say, hey, slow down, check that, you know, maybe I wouldn't have made some of the decisions that I made. But instead everybody was like, oh yes, you deserve this, you know, because that's just what
which you do. We all deserve to.
Exactly.
But it's
at the right
to
time.
Have the education, right? Exactly. And to have the knowledge about, you know, those things. So 30,000 in debt, right? Yeah. Me too. That's school, boy. But and that's just school, you know, because when we talk debt, like it's your credit cards, your whoever you owe, whether it's the doctor's office, exactly. You know, whoever. That's
your
all
auntie, your auntie right. that you ain't paid back. Okay.
Exactly. So let's talk about the steps you took to get out of your debt. I know you're still climbing that ladder, but you have taken care of a lot of debt already.
Yes. Yes. So started last year, my debt, all of it together, woo, Lord Jesus, over 200,000. So it's still up, yeah, girl. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It ought to be illegal. Student loans ought to be illegal. I just gotta say that. So
seriously, Biden, parents, what's up? I need them to disappear like tomorrow.
Today, actually, because you behind. Tomorrow,
right?
Too late.
Yesterday, really, because you said you was gonna do it when you got in office. But
exactly. Okay. So, I'll say this: the tips. I just became so laser focused on it. So there's some like little hacks that a lot of people don't know. So there is actually student loan forgiveness. It just also depends on what you're doing, right? So I retired from education. I was in education 10 years and just recently transitioned into the tech industry. So shout out to my tech 9-to-5 baddies. You know, we in there. Okay. But I taught for 5 years and then I was administrator for 5 years. And there was an opportunity for me to get some student loan forgiveness there. So I used that. So I encourage you all to like reach out. There's stuff for nurses, for doctors, counselors, teachers, like access that because that's free money that they're going to basically give you. Not free, but ain't nothing free, but you probably somewhere done the work to get that. As moms, I don't know why. I mean, I spend 9 months, 10 months carrying this child, and then you charge me to deliver this baby. Okay, that don't make sense.
That's a show on its own, honey, because I'm still paying on that.
Look, so I had accumulated medical bills. I just had a baby, and I used me being a single mom to my advantage and applied for some financial assistance, and was able to get some forgiveness there, get payments reduced. Like one of my medical bills was like $2,000. They reduced it to like $200. So that was another look. You better call.
I need to call. Listen,
you better call Tyrone. Call somebody, girl. You better call.
Oh my God.
Yes. So, because I'm a big person of like, yes, I want to get rid of this debt, but I want to get rid of it with using least amount of my money as possible. Okay, because
exactly.
I'm not, because at this point, it just really looks like I'm giving my hard-earned money away to people. So what are some ways? And that's why I like to talk about, you know, of course, there's a plan to like get off the rest of it. So, but that's definitely something that you can do. So if you have medical bills, I encourage you to reach out to the billing manager or whatever, the doctor's office or whatever, to see if you can get assistance there. Windfall money, right? So them tax returns, them bonuses. For me, because as Black women, we always are like in this position where we're trying to earn our keep in jobs. They want to make sure that we are doing our best. I spent a lot of time at work and not at home, which meant that I accumulated a lot of PTO. And when I transitioned out of my job, they paid me out. So that was like a lot of money. I'm not saying that anyone should do that because reflecting, like, I definitely should have spent more time at home with my child. At the time, it was only had one kid. But what I'm saying is like that extra money was able to be applied to debt. So extra money that I already wasn't seeing coming was able to be applied to debt and eliminate like debt immediately, right? Like a $5,000 check, boom, like that's a credit card, you know? So that also helped. And then the rest of it was creating a plan, right? So
Mm-hmm.
taking my big goal is to be debt free by 2026. And taking that one plan, that one goal, and breaking it into smaller goals. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's $30,500 a year. And then taking that goal and breaking it down even to smaller, how much do I need to pay a month? That's $2,500 a month. And so now I know in my mind that I need to pay $2,500 a month. If your budget allows for it, automate that so you don't even have to think about it. If your budget doesn't allow for it, right, automate as much as you can, and then find out ways to increase your income to figure out the gap, and then track the progress, y'all, and celebrate. Like every time you pay off a debt, you need to be celebrating. Now, I'm not saying celebrate by going accumulating more debt. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that.
I need a bag.
Just paid off my credit card at the club, buying bottles.
It's on me.
No. Okay, so just celebrate though, like, you know, whatever it is, and every time I reach a goal, like, I just celebrate myself, and I track it, and I probably have like 1 million trackers at this point, and I'm obsessed with tracking. But
I was gonna ask you, like, are you tracking like on an Excel or got a little notebook?
Yes, so I love tech stuff, so I do Google Sheets, and I created a tracker, and I listed out all of my debt. And all of the interest rates. And I don't want to say I'm an expert. I'm maybe proficient is the word, where it like automatically like color coordinates when it's paid off and stuff like that. So I can like see things are being paid off, and then it reduces the balance every time. And then I also broke it up into quarters, so I know like every quarter I should be paying off this certain amount to reach my overall goal.
Do you do that for people? Do you create sheets for people?
So, you know, I struggle because I started doing all of that stuff for people, and full transparency, last year I went through postpartum depression, and so I had to like take a step back from like really giving myself to people, and so I'm slowly getting myself back into a place where I'm able to like pour into other people. My pot was like so empty. I didn't have the capacity, especially, it was just a big transition. My oldest is 13, my youngest is 15 months now. And like, they both needed me in two very different aspects of their lives. Yeah. And it was just a lot. So, I'm trying to get back to that place. So y'all follow me on The Rich Black Mom, and y'all see all the updates of all the new things that I'm going to be doing, because I'm actually in a really good place now. So yeah.
I need to be the first one. I need that shit.
I got you. And it makes it easy. And then like, I also say this because debt can become very overwhelming. Find a plan and stick to the plan. There's two strategies. There's the Avalanche, and then there's the Snowball. If you're one of those people who needs those like motivation to keep going, I suggest the Snowball, because what you do is you pay off one debt and then take the amount that you were paying in that one debt and apply it to the next, and it just builds a bigger momentum, and like you see small wins faster. Whereas if you're doing the Avalanche, you're focused on paying off your high interest debt first. And if, for example, your credit card, say your credit card debt is $25,000, like every month you making a $2,000 payment feels like you're not making, you know, a big impact. So then you give up really easily. But if you're more about the numbers and what makes sense, the Avalanche is the way to go, because the Avalanche will allow you to spend less money in the long run paying off the debt versus the Snowball. So those are two options there to think about.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to another mom. She's in banking, and she was talking about the two. I personally, I'm like one of those type of people, like, I need that motivation. I need to see that this is really paying off. So I like the Snowball. I've tried the Snowball before. I'm actually about to start it again because I do have some debt that I need to get down. That credit card debt. And listen, credit cards are great. They are great when used properly. I have grown to really lean on my cards as opposed to my debit card. Like, I hardly ever use my debit card anymore. And I just transfer the funds, you know, like I try not to get things. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I don't swipe my credit card, even if I don't have it on the debit card. But majority of the time I'm looking to have it on my debit card so I can just put it right back on my credit card and not have to worry. But it's definitely some cards that I need to get paid down. So that Snowball, I think I'm going to go back and try that again just to keep that motivation. But I really like the fact that you have that Excel sheet, because I know different people have different things and everybody's not as techie as the next person, but I have seen a lot of people use Excel sheets just to kind of help them stay on track. So I definitely think that that's a great idea. And I would love for somebody to build me one, because I am good in Excel, but
I got you.
I could be better.
I got you. Yeah. All of that come in. I have one. I just need to revamp it. So all of that's coming. I'm really going to focus on my brand this year. I forgot to mention this because this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say this anyways. Everybody better listen up. Use that child support check, okay, to pay down your debt. Let me tell you why. Because half the time you accumulated that debt trying to feed that baby, trying to put a roof over that baby's head, whatever. So use that child support. Who cares what he got to say? Okay, use that child support check to pay off some debt. Like, seriously, you don't have to use the whole thing depending on what the amount is, whatever. But a lot of times we've accumulated debt because we're trying to take care of our kids. I accumulated student loan debt because I wanted to get a job that was going to help me take care of my child. So yes, I will use your child support check. And if he's listening, I do use your child support check to pay off debt.
Listen, but you made a good point. Like, even, if it's a child support check or a bonus check or any other additional income that you have coming in, because I know I'm actually like you, coming from the education into corporate life.
Okay.
And let me just say, everybody got their walks in life. Mm-hmm. Education don't pay me enough for mine. And that is why I had to skedaddle. But I love the kids. Don't get me wrong. I love the kids. I definitely have a passion for it. And I truly believe, like, if you are so passionate about children, because we need good people in education for our kids, it wasn't for me, but for those that it is for, stay in it. But like, I was trying to make it to my 10 years so that I can do the forgiveness. I think I left at like year 5, but
okay. Yeah.
Hey, do what you got to do. I'm making way more money now than I was then. So
exactly.
But just like you said, like, being able to use those checks, like, I didn't get like bonuses or anything like that when I was in education to have additional income, to pay off anything. But now I have been able to have like those, we're getting this little boost for something, whatever, a little extra check, and like pay off a credit card,
Yeah.
Even if I have reused the credit card, but I used. I did use, and exactly. And so that is such a good point to say, like, any extra money, like, instead of looking to go spend it on whatever, like, definitely see if there are ways that you can add it to a bill and get that, paid off. Because it's one thing, it's like, I don't know, for me, I'm just kind of feeling like, okay, I've gotten to a point where I have really realized how important it is to make sure that my credit is good, because it's going to be things you want to do, like buy a house or get the car that you feel like you should have and that you want. And then you looking at your credit or whatever, and it ain't adding up so that you can do those things. And so it's very important that it just comes to discipline, in which you have shown that you have a lot of discipline to be able to get that debt paid off. And I actually saw you recently, posted your January debt payoff, and then listed, like, where you may have went over budget, right? And so let's talk about budgeting. Okay. What are some things that you have learned through your trials and tribulations of learning to have a good budget?
Yes. So I will say, first, everyone tells you to like cut back expenses. And at some point you can cut back as much as you want, but like, that's not going to really move the needle, as much. And so just like you, I love kids, worked in education, but I had to dip out. But what I do is still impact kids. So for those of you, I do want to put that out there. If there's a way to still impact children's lives without directly working with kids. And so there's a way to do that in corporate. And I show up every day and have an impact on children's lives, even though I work remotely, make good money, and don't have to deal with parents and children all day. So, and when I made my transition, the thing that was great is I increased my income substantially, but I kept my bills the same. Because that was like the biggest thing that people do is they will get a new job and now say, oh, now let me go buy this and let me go buy this and let me go buy this. But because my debt-free journey is really important to me, I focused on like what my goals were, and it's to get out of debt. So yes, I can go move into that apartment that's going to cost me $2,200 a month, or I can stay where I am right now and pay my $1,500 and save that money and apply it to debt, or take only a little bit and apply it to debt and put some in my pocket for myself and my savings for my future, whatever might have it. I will say that budgeting, you know, it doesn't have to be this negative thing where budget doesn't mean broke. And that's like the misconception that people have about budget. Like my kids, my oldest right now, she'll say, oh, is that even in the budget right now, Mom? Because I talk to her so much.
She already knows.
Exactly. Right. So, and so you want to start just by like, you're going to have to sit down one day and really look at those numbers. You're just really going to have to do it. You just don't have to do it. And I tell you, get you some wine, get your music, light you a blunt if you need to. Okay. Ooh. Like, set the mood, because you're gonna be in your feelings when you look at that paper and you seeing where's your money. And the thing is the money is there. Like, you think you don't have money, you do have money. You're just spending it, right? And so write down all the money that's coming in and all the money that's going out, and focus on what you have control over, right? So if, for example, like, if you see that Target is Target.
Listen, go in there for toilet paper and you got a whole outfit of 3.
Exactly. So if you're looking at your budget and you spending $1,000 a month in Target, sis, that's the money right there that you're talking about, that you have no money saved. There it goes right there. That's your savings. Right. There goes that credit card that you could have paid off. But I really feel like people have to find a budget that works for them. And the biggest key to budgeting is be realistic, right? Because this is what when I first started on my journey, I used to be really big on Dave Ramsey until I found out some stuff about him, and I don't really fool with that. I don't fool with him anymore. Girl, he racist, girl. Don't let me get started on that. Don't let me.
I didn't hear that.
Don't let me get started on that right now. But so, and he has a very like shame, like makes you feel bad about the decision. I don't know, this the way he talks makes you feel really bad about the decisions that you make, because he's a very like, don't enjoy anything until you get out of debt. And I don't believe that, because I believe that if you take out all the luxuries, then you're not gonna want to get out of debt because you're not enjoying anything. Like,
and there is a such thing as good debt too. Like, all debt isn't necessarily bad debt either. So
exactly.
And you'll be miserable trying to pay off all that debt.
Exactly. But being realistic, right? So, you know, if, for example, when you do your budget and it doesn't have to be something like extra calculated or intense. Like, it could be really simple. Like, what are your bills that you're paying, right? That's like the easiest way to get started. What are your bills that you have? Allocate the amount of money to each bill, and then see what's left over. After you pay your bills, especially focusing on like your necessary bills, like what's your glorious gap? Like, what money is left over? Do you have money left over? If you have money left over, then a lot of times what happens is I love to hear moms say, oh, well, I don't have money to save. There's some money to save right there. There's some money to pay off debt right there. Or if you find yourself being in a position where you don't have enough money, then that's when you can start cutting stuff out of your budget, like Target, right? But Target might be important to you. So it's not cut Target completely out. It's set a reasonable amount for Target. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, but don't put $5, because you know you're not going to Target and spending $5. But you know you can't spend $1,000 at Target. So find a happy medium and be realistic. And what I'll say is, a lot of times people try to give up after the first month because they're like, oh, this doesn't work. At least try it for 3 months and try it for 3 months. See what happens. I started budgeting a year and a half ago, and to this, like, now I love budgeting. Like, now it's something that I budget every week now because I get paid every week, and it doesn't bother me at all. Like, and I have a whole
every week
team.
y'all hiring.
So that has its pros and its cons.
And
because
cons,
because you'll be like, baby, I ain't got no more money. I get paid again tomorrow. No way.
Listen, because I was in a contract position. It was my first contract role in the pandemic, like, that I've ever had, but I got it during the pandemic, and I was getting paid every Friday. And I was like, okay, I could just go and spend this little money because I know it's coming right back on Friday. So it is definitely a dangerous game. But I like the fact of what you were saying, like, you don't necessarily have to cut yourself off cold turkey, right? Because that is not realistic. Like, if you've been doing something for so long, it's like impossible almost to just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore, right?
Exactly.
Like, even when I was trying to set a budget, and I go back and forth, I need to be more consistent, like how you were saying, like, try for 3 months and you'll probably be able to form consistency, after 3 months. But even something as small as, like, it might be Target for one person, but like someone like me, it's coffee. I love my Starbucks every morning. And Starbucks drinks, $6 a drink if you being cute, with your latte. I'm going to work 5 days a week. Okay, 6 times 5. Okay, I'm spending $30 on coffee a week.
Exactly.
And $30 a week times 4, so that's $120 a month on coffee.
On coffee, yep.
And I had to, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do a cute little drink every day. Maybe on Fridays, right? That's my end of the week treat or something. But I was cutting back, and I was getting $8 coffee. And I would tell them, see, I had a little hookup. So I'm like, sprinkle some of that syrup in that dollar coffee. and doctor myself up, because I'm like, okay, I really don't need the latte. I just want the latte for the taste, right?
Yep.
And so, maybe you don't have that hookup at the Starbucks. And that's when I was working at the college on campus. So, the students, they was like, we got you, Ms. White. But
yes.
Maybe you got to do something else. Like, now I don't work at a school, I work from home. And so I just went and bought my own espresso from Starbucks, $20 for a big old bag. Exactly. And I make my own coffee at home, just to save. Now, there are times where I get up in the morning, I'm like, I don't feel like making my coffee. I'm going to go on over here to Dunkin' or Starbucks and get something. But those are like little sacrifices, like you were saying, like you sacrificing the things that you just like to do that you don't need to do. But you find a way to reduce it to where you're still getting that pleasure. It's just not, the whole thing. So that's definitely a true statement. So ladies, wherever you feel like you can cut and dice it up, do it. Like, that is a part of budgeting. It's not just going cold turkey and stopping. Now, maybe, yes, there are some things like, that Hulu account or Netflix, because, they're going up. Yeah. There might be some things you just got to stop cold turkey, because that's subscriptions. You don't think about it.
Yep. But here's a subscription hack for you. This is what I look. So the way my sisters and I roll is one person pays a different subscription. So I have all the subscriptions, okay? But I don't pay for all of them. I only pay for Disney Plus. So that Netflix, I ain't too worried about it, because I'm not the one that's gonna have to deal with that. So I'm praying my sister does not cut Netflix, okay? Because I don't know.
Listen, for all my friends that's on my Netflix, y'all gonna have to start kicking in, okay?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the way to do it. Yes. So you can split that up. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all all using an account, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, whatever it may be, find some ways to split that up with the family, and that's a way to reduce some bills. But I definitely, cutting everything out. That's usually how people don't stick to a budget, is because they just like,
miserable. You feel like you got to let too much go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, we all feel like we should live a certain lifestyle, right? So let's talk about it. The rich Black mom, just living in luxury. I love the fact that you push that on your brand, because we do deserve, right? We do deserve to live these lives. And it's not to say that we can't, or you feel like you've messed up too much along the way to fix it, because you're, perfect example of being able to fix it. It's just staying true to what you believe, and really living that lifestyle. So how, I know you said you don't desire some of those things that you maybe desired before, but you can go out and get it. So I guess, what would be your advice to someone that is like, I want this life, like I want to live luxury?
Yeah, so I still want them. The thing is I have delayed gratification to a point where it's not like before. It was like, oh, I have to have it right now. I have to have it right now. And if I don't have it right now, then I guess it's just, I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to be happy. Right. And so believe me, baby, I want my mom's SUV. It's an AMG GLE 350 custom made. It's gonna cost me $65,000. I've already test drove it. My dream house is $450,000. Like, oh, I want the luxury, and I'm going to have the luxury. But the thing is time and place, right? So, and my mom used to tell me that as a kid, and I used to be like, "Girl, bye. What time is now? Place is now." But like now that I'm 32, right? It's like, oh, time and place is everything. And so I think it's more of like, number one, figuring out like what your financial goals are. And especially if you're a mom, there's this like, you also want to be able to have your kids. I don't know about y'all, but I want a nanny. Okay. I want a housekeeper. I want a laundry service. I want all of those things. But you know what I'm saying? And so I don't think that we should stop wanting them. I just think that we just have to focus on like getting our financial goals, and getting out of debt is literally something that's going to unlock that for you. Right. Cause like I think about myself right now, like I pay, my car note is $520 a month. You know what I could do with 500? Like, you know what I could do with that? Right. Exactly. So thinking about if we get out of, that's why I push debt freedom, because a lot of times people are searching for more income, but the more income could literally be the car that you're driving. It could be the credit card the credit card that you're accumulating every day. Right. So, get those luxuries, but you're gonna know when it's time to get it, because it's gonna feel so good that it's like, oh yeah, it's time. Like, I'll know when it's time for me to get those things that I want, because yes, I can afford it, but am I able to afford it and still pay off debt? If I can't do both, then it's not time. It's not time yet. So it shouldn't you from reaching your goals when it's time for you to have luxury. If it stops you from reaching your goals, then it's not time yet. Right.
That's a good way to look at it. And you're also manifesting it. Like even from, with your brand, like you're truly living in that, and I honestly feel like speaking it into existence, like not to say you can't do the work behind it, but definitely, staying positive. Like, one thing my boyfriend always tell me, he like, you always like shy away from living in luxury, right? Because we talk about the house we want to get and everything like that. And he's like, you always end up settling, like changing your mind because you think about what you have now, like in your financial wise, right? And he's like, you shouldn't do that. And I had to think about it, and I'm just like, you're so right. Like I do, like I'll sit up here and talk myself out of something luxurious, even if I really do want it, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at these bills, I'm looking at this debt now, instead of really just saying, okay, how can I get away from this so that I can get X, Y, and Z, instead of putting myself in this box because I feel like I can't get out, when in reality you can. You just have to really, like you said, sit down and look at the financials, maybe cut some things out. And it's just temporary. Like, it's not to say that you can't go back and live that lifestyle. Because, honey, I know I deserve to be rich, and I'm going to. Like this year alone. Well, between last year and this year, like I really have just put that in my mind. Like, look, I am going to be successful in a bunch of different ways, so that I am looking for more income, but not to just spend it. Like I really want to set my kid up like rich families do, right? Exactly. They set those kids up so that he doesn't have to, right? So he doesn't have to, or any kids that I have, moving forward, don't have to go through those things, and teaching them early, because I also don't want them to just think everything comes easy. Like, hard work definitely pays off, but it's like, you shouldn't have to struggle.
Yep. And we need to stop normalizing that. Like, we need to stop normalizing that our kids should struggle just because we struggle. I'm sending my kids to college or with a business, whatever they would, without debt. They're like, oh, you need a house to stay in? Boom, mama got 2 for you. Like, 1 for each of you. You need to. Like, my kids are not getting it out the mud, like, just because I had to, and that's not cool. And I think
the rich families don't do that. They setting their kids up.
They got a trust fund, okay? They got a trust fund.
And that
Johnny got a trust fund. So you know what?
Listen,
my black kids gonna have a trust fund too, okay?
Right. So, assets already. Exactly. He don't even know what that is, but he got it.
He can't spell it. Okay, that's fine.
Right. And that is like living that life, though, that luxurious life. Like, you can live it. You don't just have to see it. You just have to. You might just have to be the one to put in the work to make it happen. But I definitely feel like, once you get on that right track, like, you said you was 32 and you realizing it, like, I'll be 30 next month, and I'm realizing it. I wish I would have realized it before, but I honestly am glad that I went through those things.
Exactly.
So that I can, tell it to the next person, like, this stuff can happen. You just got to do the work. And I'm still working, still a work in progress. I ain't rich. But I would listen, manifesting.
It's coming. The one thing I'll say, and like what you just said, one of the biggest things that I learned is what you focus on, you create more. So if you focus on the fact that you don't have, you focus on lack, you focus on negativity, you're just going to create more of that same energy, and you going to wallow. Like, you don't know how many people I talk to that they're like, oh, I just can't. I wish I could be like you. I wish I could be like you. I'm like, you know what happened with me is I stopped wallowing in the fact that I didn't have. And I was just like, you know what? Oh, I want this. Oh, I want to be able to do this. And I went and got it. And when I started focusing on increasing my income, when I tell you money just be like, I'm a money magnet at this point in my life. Like, literally,
just wake up.
Money. Just money. Literally, like, I'm money. Like, not even else.
Like, literally, like what we were just saying, even before getting on here, we both have Capital One, and we got those increases. Like, and honestly, I didn't even pay off mine, but I have good payment history, and I'm just, at least make my minimum. But try more, and like those increases on your credit cards, like, they'll come. You just have to do the work. And honestly, they come when you least expect it, because I did not expect it at all.
Exactly.
When I expect it, that's when I get denied. But
exactly. And that'd be the best part, when it's unexpected, because that lets you know that you are doing the right things. Like, when things are just the way things have just been lining up in my life, because I've been manifesting so much positivity. I manifested my job that I have now before I even got the job, even after I was getting.
What do you do, if you don't mind us asking?
Yeah, so I am a DEI program specialist. So I create programs and strategies and initiatives to help get Black and brown kids into the tech world. So we know that Black and brown are underrepresented in tech. And so I just create opportunities for them to have access. We're taught be teachers, be lawyers, all the regular stuff, but there's so much money in tech. Exactly. So basically, I'm creating a seat at the table for Black and brown kids. And the reason why it's really passionate for me is because thinking about the students that I served, I worked in a lot of like underperforming low income schools. Mm-hmm. Just thinking about those students having access to 6-figure paying jobs, like how that will change the trajectory of their families, like brings me so much joy every day. So like
that's so crazy.
I work in DEI
too.
Oh, really? What you doing DEI, girl?
Recruiting. Not kids. So that's how I transitioned out of education. I started doing it was university recruiting at the time.
I do a little bit of
I personally focused on DEI work within my job, even though it wasn't necessarily a part of the job. But now I'm strictly in DEI recruitment. So I love it, girl.
Hey,
we gotta do what we gotta do.
We gotta do what we gotta do and create seats at the table for us. Okay, like so, yeah. So I start with like the kids. You doing with the adults. I do a little bit of the early career. So I do a little bit of university stuff too. So I'm working with HBCUs and trying to get engagement with them. So
Yes, I love it. And I attended an HBCU, so
yes, girl.
Listen, get them in, girl. Get them in.
Yes,
well, I want the ladies to know where and how they can find you. So please share any social media handles or any website that you may have so that the girls can follow your debt journey and learn some tips and tricks from you.
Yes. So follow me on Instagram at The Rich Black Mom. That's where I'm at. That's where you can find me. That's really all I'm at right now. Kind of building more, other places, but that's where you can find me right now. So The Rich Black Mom. I share my lifestyle, really focus on money. I also love to cook. So I be posting some recipes on there. And just all things being a mother. So just come join me. Have a good time. I don't bite. I really love engaging with you all. So that's where y'all can find me.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you, Somi, for coming on and sharing your debt-free journey as you're, climbing that debt ladder. And congratulations to you, though, for doing all that you have done so far. Like within a year and a half really isn't that long. So you're, truly being influential and inspiring to other ladies to get out of debt and live that rich Black mom lifestyle, or even that rich Black lifestyle if you don't have kids yet, but you might got some debt. You really are doing it. So we appreciate you for sharing, and I appreciate you for coming on. This is a boss mom. She making it work for her kids and doing what she got to do for herself as well. So we will definitely be tuning in. My listeners, I hope y'all will, with the Rich Black Mom, because I am definitely learning from her journey as I do follow her page. So again, thank you for coming on. This is episode 8, The Rich Black Mom. And as I always say, ladies, stay bossy and stay motivated, and let's stay out of debt. So
yes, let's get it.
I will see you ladies next time.
Hey ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Bawse Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebawsemommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.